Hello, everyone.
Resident Evil.
This is a commentary for a speedrun I did of Resident Evil HD Remaster. The category is Jill any percent on normal difficulty. That's mountain climbing difficulty. The final time was 1 hour, 23 minutes, and 10 seconds. As of February 2015, excuse me, this was a world record, tied for first place with another player, Elaval. Starting in the dining room, first thing we're going to do is grab the emblem. Then we're just gonna go through the motions, head back to the main hall. Not entirely sure whether picking up the emblem now is going to be faster than picking it up later, but I believe because of Jill's starting position here, it might be a little bit quicker to just run one step forward and pick it up. So the first trick you're going to notice here is called stair skating. Basically, all I am doing is mashing the run button. I use the classic tank controls with control type B. So basically all I'm doing is running up the stairs while mashing the run button. And it makes you run about 1.5 times faster than if you were just straight up running up the stairs. So the next thing we're going to do is pick up the gold arrow so that we can get the sword key. This is trip number 1 through what I like to call the murder hallway, because there's a lot of really tough dodges in here. So there's the gold arrow. And there's a very precise angle you have to pick up the gold arrow at in order to be able to slide along the podium and then tap backwards so that the zombie tries to lunge for you and miss. So the next area here, the graveyard. The only zombie that you have to worry about is the first one you see. You have to try to squeeze between him and the path, but right as the camera angle is changing, you have to veer to the right, because if you continue along the left side, then the zombie on the left side will activate early. And that would be one more zombie that you have to dodge at an awkward camera angle. So there's the Book of Curse. One thing I do here is I quick turn before going into the menu. At the very tail end of the animation, like right before Jill is completely turned around, I can actually cancel the end of the quick turn animation and save maybe some fractions of a second. So once you've gone down, the best thing to do is to hug the left side as you're coming out. There is maybe a 20% chance that the zombie will grab you as you're coming out, but unfortunately that's all up to RNG. Whether the zombie grabs you coming out of the graveyard or the crypt or not. But just try to squeeze in between them, go down and squeeze up, veer around to the left, and depending on the starting angle and the speed that he moves at, you may or may not be able to dodge around him. The dogs crack the windows, but they don't come out unless you come back through this area. We're not ever going to come back through this area once we've gone through it once. So, first thing we do over here is grab the chemical, and now we are going to go up to the study on the second floor to get the lighter and the dog whistle. Not even going to bother with any of these extra rooms, even though they have defense items, maybe some supplies. You have to dodge everything. If you are new to speedrunning the game, then I would recommend picking up as many defense items as possible, but sticking to the health and ammo route as hard as you can. So stair skating up here, we're going to hug the wall, and the zombie is going to try to lunge at you, but once you hit like a degree, like maybe 45 degrees to his right, he'll lunge at you, and he'll miss because he's trying to grab you through the corner, but he can't grab you through the corner. The zombie after him can be avoided by just hugging the left wall, as you just saw. And then the room right after said zombie is this room, where we pick up the lighter first, and then the dog whistle. We want to pick up the lighter first because it is less turning around. Then we'll hug the inner wall of the C-shaped hallway. And we're going to check the angle at which that zombie is approaching. He will either go left or right. The zombies that are moving immediately whenever you enter the room will generally move in one of three directions. They all kind of sort of move at the same speed, but they will all have different rotational values. They will rotate a little quicker than others. So certain dodging routes are inaccessible depending on how far they rotate whenever you see them. And the zombie near the double doors was a perfect example. So you'll see in the previous room that I picked up a dagger. Now you need this dagger in order to use against the dog. We're going to rotate and advance. Whenever you hear the chains rattling, that is a good time to start shooting because the dog has spawned by then. You'll hear barking, but I'm pretty sure the dog in the chains doesn't actually spawn until you hear the rattling. The next zombie over here, it is recommended that you actually hug towards the left wall. Don't hug towards the right wall like I did. I tried to get him to lunge towards the right, but really ultimately I wound up going for a slower backup strat by hugging the right side of the wall, which was to just lure him towards the right wall and then run to his left. When really what you should do is kind of go towards the left side of the wall and back up a whole bunch, get him to lunge, miss, then he can pass around. Of course, just don't worry about the Crimson Head going up the stairs. Pick up the armor key. I was going to use the dagger against the dog on the balcony because it actually is a little bit faster to have him pounce on you and save a couple of handgun bullets. But he actually was not being very aggressive, so I didn't have to stab him with the dagger. Stabbing with the dagger is about the equivalent of perhaps 4 handgun shots, something like that. But you take out dogs in half the time if they pounce. That zombie is another mover. One of the movers that I mentioned earlier, as in he starts moving as soon as you enter the room, and he can cut you off around that junction. The fat balding zombie can. And if he does, then it gives plenty of time for the Elder Crimson, or the Crimson Head to catch up. So now that we have the armor key, our next trip is to go for the grenade launcher. The grenade launcher is, of course, Jill's primary weapon throughout the run. And because we did not trigger the Jill sandwich cutscene, Barry will be here. Now, as I was saying earlier, don't even bother shooting zombies. Don't even bother picking up healing items unless you really need to heal immediately. If you're going to speedrun, instead what you need to do is you need to practice bosses. Practice boss quick kill strats. Pick up defense items. Because even if like every hard zombie to dodge does actually grab you, you won't take any damage, and there's still plenty of opportunities to practice, and you can just use fewer and fewer defense items as you feel more comfortable. Excuse me. So, now we have to save Richard. Once you've set off this Richard cutscene, then another timer will play, and after about 5 minutes, Richard will die. Jeez, excuse me. After about 5 minutes, Richard will die, so you need to do the lower west side of the mansion pretty quickly. The zombie busting in the door won't actually come down until you reach the stairs here. If a zombie is on a different Z coordinate than you, it will vomit. So don't worry about vomiting zombies, ever. We'll drop the knife, the handgun, and the sword key. Use the L or R triggers to scroll the inventory box if you're throwing away items forever. Do that instead of hitting up or down to scroll. Generally, it's going to be safer to dodge around the outside wall for the zombie coming out of the save room going towards the plant here. Because oftentimes he will be closer to the inner side of the wall, but if you don't see his hands in the frame before you actually see him, then you need to trigger the next camera angle and try to back up a little bit. Otherwise, you could sacrifice a defense item to get around him. That's fine. So use the chemical here, pick up the death mask. One thing that I forgot to note is I have the language set to Japanese. That is an option you can set in the game's options menu. I don't have the Japanese version of the game. It's the American version of the game. I just have Japanese text because it scrolls faster. Japanese text saves maybe about 45 seconds over the course of a run, maybe? Actually, I don't really know how much time it saves, but I know it scrolls faster. I just kind of pulled the number out of my ass. So after the zombies bust through the window, we're just going to go straight back to Richard. And we can do that by heading through the main hall and going right back up the stairs. So let's see. Immediately after Richard, we have to pick up the music notes. There are music notes in the next room. So this is what we have to do. For this first zombie here, we're gonna hold back and left for one step, then hold forward, and then start backpedaling. Of course, the dodge failed here, but what's supposed to happen is, as soon as you trigger the camera angle, you're supposed to mash back on the D-pad until the zombie lunges, then you can just hold up and move past him. And of course, as soon as you light the candle, the zombie is going to come in. As soon as this camera angle here triggers, mash back immediately. That is how you can dodge the fat zombie in the little hidden room there. And depending on whether the zombie goes left or right at the table, just go left or right of the table. He's not going to be able to catch up to you fast enough. So, once again, don't bother shooting zombies. Even if it seems difficult, don't bother shooting zombies. Use defense items instead. Because oftentimes it's getting into an area that is harder than getting out of an area. Now that we have these music notes, we're going to go play the piano. Now this next zombie here, what you need to do is hold upright for one step and then straighten out. 1 straight, 3, 4, 5. After 5 steps, start mashing back. Well, that dodge actually failed. But ideally what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to be facing towards the left wall just a little bit, maybe by about 10 degrees into the left wall. Just kind of put your nose 10 degrees into the left wall and then just start mashing backwards. Something about the spacing causes the zombie to just wig out and lunge at you. So there's the gold emblem. We're going to take that to the main hall, go get the shield key, and then go fight Jan. But not really fight Jan, because fighting him does nothing anyway. It's just a waste of ammo. Just hold upright to squeeze past this zombie over here. Then next we're going to use the gold emblem. And then solve the puzzle. The solution is on the picture to the left. The green armor guy is getting a short sword pierced through his chest, but the red armor guy is getting a long sword pierced through his head. So all you have to do is turn the large gear to the right twice. Then there's your shield key. There's not too terribly much left to go on for the Mansion 1 segment of the run. We don't need Richard's assault shotgun. You can get the assault shotgun from Richard if you deal enough damage to Jan and you saved Richard with the serum. Most people don't know that you can actually get an assault shotgun by rescuing Richard. The assault shotgun is actually extremely necessary for Chris's run. So we're going to phase to the left side, or to Jill's right side. And now we're going to go towards the podium, wait for Jan to go to the left, and then just kind of go back the angle you came and exit the room. It's not a really hard dodge. Just go get the mask, figure out which direction of the pillar Jan is going to come around, and then you know your safe angle. Because it's not like the snake can push itself back and go around the other side of the pillar. Just leave. That dodge doesn't always work either, because that zombie is a mover, as I mentioned before. He starts moving as soon as you enter the room, and he just kind of wanders around. So you may wind up using a defense item against him, but otherwise just try to lure him one side and dodge the other. The solution to this puzzle, if you don't know it already, top right, bottom left, bottom right, and then push the button. So our next step is to go to the save room on the east side of the mansion. And there we are going to pick up incendiary rounds. Squeeze to Jill's left side to dodge around the first zombie. If you just try to run straight forward, then the zombie will grab you because he has push priority while he's attacking. That's a mechanic among some of the enemies in this game. Some of them have priority over pushes. Go ahead and drop the lighter and pick up both the first aid spray and the flame rounds. The door will break after you enter it 2 times before it is fixed. This does not happen in real survival mode, but it does happen in normal and invisible enemy modes. So we're going to turn the first portrait orange, the second portrait green, or the third portrait green, and the second portrait purple. 3 switches, that's all you have to flick. The middle portrait is purple, and the one around the corner is green. But the first one you see has to turn orange. Now that we have all 4 death masks, we are going to go fight the Elder Crimson Head. We have to be a little bit careful when fighting Elder Crimson Head because a grenade round could knock him over. So we have to anticipate that. But all it takes is 3 regular grenades to take down Elder Crimson Head. If you're playing the best ending run, then you want to equip incendiaries here instead. All you have to do is hold R1, fire, and then when he knocks over, just run up in between his legs, then aim down at him, and then fire twice, and he will be dead. All you have to do in order to be able to exert control over Elder Crimson Head is knock him down with 1 grenade. Or just directly fire forward with a grenade. Pay very special attention to the arc range of different grenades, because some grenades travel closer than others. Some grenades do not travel very far. In order to dodge this zombie, you just want to run forward 1 step and then start backing up. If the lunge fails, then plant your back flat on the wall and run around him in a 90-degree circle. Run around him in a half circle. Just totally ignore the dog that comes out of the bushes. There's the battery pack. And another first aid spray. The general idea is to try to pick up items where Jill does not have a bending over animation. Because every time you bend over to pick up an item, it costs an extra 3 seconds as opposed to not bending over to pick up an item. So if it's on the floor, you should probably avoid it. For the weather vanes, you have to set the red one to west, and then the blue one to north. They may run a little bit faster or slower. We're heading up to our first encounter with Lisa. It's funny, in the original Resident Evil 1, all you had to do was push a stepladder up against a shelf to pick up a crank. But instead, they just put a door there, and then it leads to this big, long, winding path where you have to go and encounter a monster that is completely new to Resident Evil HD Remaster. Well, not new to Resident Evil HD Remaster, but new to the remake. New to the GameCube remake. Gonna go ahead and drop off the armor key. We will no longer need that. Instead, we're just gonna hold on to some of these extra grenades. For Lisa, this is what you have to do. You have to hold up until you see she's about to move, and then backpedal. It generally takes about 1 step before she starts to move. But basically, the second you see her forward swing start up is pretty much the second you back up. And try to be really careful about where in her forward swing you move forward, because even at parts of her swing where it looks like there should be absolutely zero momentum, you will still get hit and you will still take full damage. Like at the very top point of her swing, you will take about a third of your health if it connects, because the active damage frames are still going. As well designed as the hitboxes are, the active damage frames in this game, not so much. So, these dogs do not spawn until after the Brad cutscene. So, what you have to do to squeeze past them is hold up. That's literally it. Just hold up until you reach the stairs. Maybe veer to the right a little bit so that you can actually climb the stairs. But all you have to do is hold up, and you just push right past the little gazebo and the dog. Now you just have to drain the water, and that was pretty much the only thing standing between you and the guardhouse. So we're just gonna go straight to the guardhouse now. If you only use first aid sprays throughout the course of the run, you should be pretty safe. So the spider up there, basically what you need to do is try to pick up the red book on the bar top as quickly as possible. That spider is actually not very aggressive. Don't even bother with pushing the box there. Instead, what you need to do is you need to break out of the tentacle grab. And that can be easily accomplished by rotating the left analog stick and mashing the run and confirm buttons. That would be square and X if you're playing with controller type B on a PS4 or PS3 controller, or the X and A buttons if you were playing with a 360 or Xbox One controller. Go to the room where there's a dialogue with Barry. That would be room 003. Room 002, excuse me. It's room 002, not 003. And then go to the bathroom and pick up the 001 key. Now we are going to run back to room 001 to use the 001 key, then go to that bathroom and pick up the control room key. Rotate the analog stick really hard, mash square and X. Very easy to go through. Don't even worry about these zombies or the other zombie with the noose. Just grab the key and leave the area. Although, if you explore the room before, you could get the self-defense gun, but I would only recommend that if you're playing through the game casually. Just don't even bother picking up any more ammo. Overall, you only need to kill... probably 5 or 6 monsters. We've got the dogs, the Crimson Head, Plant 42, the giant snake. Then there's Tyrant and Super Tyrant. Otherwise, you absolutely do not need to kill anything else. So don't even plan around it. Instead, just plan around figuring out how to get past them. Treat all the enemies as obstacles. For the zombie in the previous room, just nudge to the right a little bit. Nudge towards the left side of the screen. But it would be turning to the right a little bit if you were playing with the tank controls. And then push the bookshelves once each to get access to the ladder, where you can climb down and push these boxes. So in order to take out the enemies that you absolutely have to kill, you need the standard handgun for the dogs. You need 3 grenade rounds for Elder Crimson Head. You need 3 flame rounds for Plant 42. You need 4 acid rounds for Yawn. And then you can kill everything else of the rest of the game with Barry's Magnum, which he drops after you opt to not give Barry back his gun. For the sharks here, just run the outer path the whole time, but try to hug the railing a little bit. Hugging the railing a little bit does cut down on your overall travel time, and it also, for some reason, the sharks will not actually try to attack you. It drops the chances of them actually attacking down to maybe 2%. Even if they do attack though, you still have a first aid spray or two. If you're going for world record strats, then you should only have maybe 1 or 2 first aid sprays. So you try to lower the shutter, then turn off the safety, try to lower the shutter again. No, you try to drain the water, hit the safety, hit the shutter, check the whiteboard, change the oil pressure, hit the safety, then hit the shutter again, then drain the water. Now we're going to go directly to the gallery key to pick that up. There's 2 ways to get the gallery key from the shark. You can either electrocute the shark, or you can do the Neptune skip, which is where you just jump into the water and go directly to pick up the key before Neptune eats you alive. It's actually a lot easier than it looks. All you have to do is drop into the water, then hold up left. And you will dodge the shark immediately, as long as you hold up left, and then straighten out after you are 90 degrees to the left from where you were initially facing while running, and then just hold up and mash the confirm button to pick up the key. Don't turn before you move, and don't use the new analog controls, because if you do that, then you are going to fail the shark skip and you are going to die. You'll notice I do a little quick turn at the ladder here. That's actually not faster. What you should be doing is turning a little towards the left, because Jill will rotate 90 degrees to the left in 1 frame if you're facing even a little towards the ladder when you start to mash for it. We can dodge the zombie on the way out here, or we could just use a defense item. But because Jill's hitbox is smaller, it does actually open her up to a dodge. One that I actually started kind of sort of getting used to after I completed this run. But it's just as well to stab a defense item into his head. All you need to do is make him lunge, and at the end of the lunge, he will lose push priority. Then you can push around him and then head for the gallery room to grab the pesticide. Here's another place where you may or may not save time due to RNG. After you pick up the map, make sure you start to mash the cancel button furiously before going into the menu to use the pesticide. So those bees may actually die faster or slower, but it's all dependent on RNG or random number generator stuff, which is completely out of your control. Sometimes the bees will die quicker, sometimes they will die slower, but that cutscene is not a fixed amount of time. The bees will either die faster or slower, and you will probably save or lose a second because of it. But now that the bees are dead, grab the 003 key and solve the red book puzzle. But first equip the grenade launcher with the flame rounds. Swap 1 with 4. Swap 6 with 3. Swap 1 with 4. Swap 7 with 3. Then swap 6 with 2. So then mash up the stairs, then go into the center here. And when you are using the grenade launcher, there are two things. Plant 42 will only take damage when its petals are open. 1. 2. Incendiary rounds have a very, very small arc. So once you are in firing position, you have to aim upward in order for the incendiary rounds to actually hit. And 3, pump cancel. The way pump canceling works is after your shot, you can release your aim and then press up. And at the first frame of Jill's normal movement animation, you can re-raise the gun, and it's faster than dealing with the recoil animation that happens between shots. So you actually do fire the grenade launcher a little bit faster. I have a tutorial on how to pump cancel on my YouTube page. It should be under the Resident Evil HD Remaster No Damage playlist. So please go check that out. Especially if you are new to the game. Dear God, what are you doing watching a speedrun trying to gain tips? You're not going to learn anything about the game that way. Not unless you're trying to speedrun the game. So now that we have the helmet key, it's time to head back to the mansion. These snakes here can be dodged at a very specific angle. There's 2 lunging snakes on the bottom left and top right of that particular junction there, and both of them will leap. And if you are not running at a very precise angle, then the snakes will lunge at you, and one of them has a higher propensity of poisoning you than the other. To dodge around this dog here, just stay along the outer wall when heading to the double doors. Don't even bother with anything on the ground there. If you're feeling a little uncomfortable, then you can pick up the dagger, but you shouldn't actually need to, because most of the enemies at this stage of the run are all enemies that do hits and not grabs. And now we are encountering hunters. So, for the first hunter here, you have to wait until the first one decides to slash. And right as he begins slashing, that's when you start running. Because while he is wasting an action slashing, that is when you stair skate up as fast as you can and try to get up to the top of the stairs before he cuts you off. If you're not feeling comfortable, then you could go ahead and use the extra flame rounds or grenade rounds to take them out if they cock block you, especially. If they block you halfway up the stairs, then that's a good time to pull out your grenades and just kill them. Because you shouldn't really have to worry about shooting any other enemies throughout the course of Mansion 2 if you have enough defense items. Of course, I'm speaking for people who are just getting started speedrunning the game, and not really for learning all of the dodges needed to be able to get a very solid run of the game. So we need that red book there. And now we're going to go into the basement. We still have 6 grenades left. Of which actually we shouldn't really need, but like I said, it's good to have a contingency plan in case there are too many enemies in the way and sacrificing health is not a good idea. You can sacrifice health to get past enemies, but it's not always recommended. For this basement area, I would actually recommend shooting both of the zombies here. Don't bother picking up the dagger on the ground, just go ahead and shoot both of the zombies with grenades. Not with incendiaries, but with grenades. If you shoot them with incendiaries, then the incendiaries can actually cause a little hit stun animation that will prevent you from going around their burning bodies, and it will actually slow you down. What I was trying to do there was another dodge where you need to back up until the zombie lunges at you, and then you can squeeze along the right-hand wall to get to the elevator. But it failed, so I was forced to eat a defense item. For the next dodge over here, do a quick turn immediately, and then just hug the right side of the wall along the elevator. Then go through the door here, and we're gonna pick up... Actually, it'd be better to pick up those acid rounds on the way out of the room. You'd save a couple of extra seconds. Not really a couple of extra seconds, maybe like 1 second at most. But you need the battery and the regular acid rounds. Well, the thing of acid rounds. Because that's what we are going to use to defeat Yawn. You're about to see firsthand. Yeah, that's why we don't use the incendiary rounds. This was not a very good return trip through the murder hallway. But actually what I was trying to do was get rid of the rest of my flame rounds. The route is slightly unoptimized. What you need to do is get rid of the original 3 grenade rounds after killing Crimson Head by combining them with the incendiary rounds, then deposit the remaining 3 in a box so that you would have 3 flame rounds left over to use against hunters if you needed to. So for Yawn here, we're going to do the pump canceling trick that I mentioned earlier, only we're going to use Jill's backwalking animation to trigger it instead. Then that way you can chain 3 grenades while you're at the top of the library, and then after you climb down, then Yawn will come down and go around that bookcase, and then you can meet Yawn face to face and just shoot him in the face with another grenade and he'll be dead. In other words, Jill's grenade launcher is super OP. And it takes 4 acid rounds to kill Yawn so that you can go pick up the blue book. Now we're going to go get the red jewel, which is a requisite item for the jewelry box puzzle, which will get us into Spencer's office so that we can collect another one of the pieces needed to open the gates to the laboratory. It's for much, much later in the run, but we need to go get it now. And this is how it's done. If the hawk is facing the severed head, then it will lock the jewel in place. And we don't want that, so we're going to push the shelf, or the chest of drawers, over to the deer head with the red eye. We're going to run to the table in the center of the room. Then we're going to flatten our backs, then run under the hawk, and run towards the side of the chest of drawers, climb up, grab the red jewel, and exit. For the second floor dining room, this room is repopulated with hunters, so we need to hug the left side wall. In doing so, that hunter is completely unaware. He just screams like an idiot, and by the time he's done screaming like an idiot, you're already halfway out the room. Knowing enemy mechanics in this game is very, very, very important to being able to complete it quickly and efficiently. Case in point, you should actually just circle around that zombie and pick up the jewelry box, and then just slide out and leave again. You don't even have to wait for him, but if you're not feeling too comfortable, or if you missed your window the first time, then wait for the zombie to walk 2 steps before trying to circle around him. And then once you've grabbed the jewelry box, then you can squeeze back in between him and the door, because he loses push priority at the tail end of his quick turn grab. So now we're going to squeeze past the first hunter we encountered. Just hug the left side wall. He just screams like an idiot before slashing, and he misses. Now we're going to use the battery and close the sluice gate so that we can go into the caverns. Once again, hold up. Since everything else in the room has push priority, you will just keep shifting to the right every time you collide with an object. And then you'll just hit the stairs, and then go. Stair skate up the stairs, then go through the gate. Just hug the intersections of walls, the intersections of the pathways when dodging the snakes, and you should be okay. There's a dog there, but he tends to try to grab more often than not. If he's that close to you, then what you need to do is don't try to go directly for the elevator, because there won't be enough space or time between you and the elevator before that dog gets you. So instead, just turn to the right and then run around the dog at a 3/4 circle and then hit the elevator. For these dogs over here, just try to hug the inner wall while you're going back for the gate, because they actually won't do their bullshit 180-degree spin grab thingy on account of them having an extra growl pattern in their AI. They just stop, growl, and walk for a second, and then they run after you. So that makes them, by all accounts, significantly less aggressive. Except for that one. If you're on stairs, then all bets are off. They may do their little projectile hit thing, where they turn themselves into projectiles. It's stupid. The dogs in this game are stupid. They're Novistador and Resident Evil 4 stupid. But truthfully, no enemy is quite as bad as the Novistadors in Resident Evil 4. Those enemies will literally fly through floors to get you. Horribly programmed garbage. It still boggles my mind that the enemy programmer for this game wound up to make the enemies in Resident Evil 4. And he did a generally terrible job that game. Once you've grabbed the crank, this other hunter will scream at you. And that's it. Just leave. By the time he's done screaming, you're already out of the room. Then we're on our way to grab the cylinder. Don't worry about those hunters, just take the interior wall. They will actually not hit you as long as you run a straight path. So now we're going to drop the grenade launcher and drop the crank, but rather we're going to trade the grenade launcher for a first aid spray and the crank for the combat knife. Jill doesn't get a flamethrower like Chris does, so she has to manually cut the webs. Be very, very careful with this boulder here. At this camera angle, do a quick turn. As soon as you hit the camera angle. Don't hug the wall in anticipation for going around the corner, because if you do, you will actually hit an invisible wall. And the boulder will kill you if you do that. As soon as you gain control of Jill, hold up and right, and hopefully the spider will charge at you. If the spider does not charge at you, then what you need to do is hug the outer side of the room, because it probably means the spider is going to rumble its abdomen and then spit acid at the web. If it does that, then it will take one less knife slash, but it also means that the black tiger is more likely to hit you. So generally we want the spider to charge. So now we're going to turn this 3 times. Then the boulder will come dislodged and come after us, but we'll be in the door. Now I'm commentating over literally nothing. There was nothing to talk about there. So this puzzle is particularly annoying. You have to push the statue 4 times And then I went ahead and used a first aid spray there, just in case Black Tiger decided to charge on the way back. But then we turned the hex crank. Then push the statue forward a couple of steps. And then come back around to push the statue towards the centerpiece. I generally push 3 pushes before putting it back on the center panel, because when I do that, then it keeps the center panel from turning you around whenever you step on it. And it's really annoying and slow and stupid when that happens. I don't like being in any situation where I lose control of my character. So once again, the spider may or may not charge here. If you see his thorax rumbling like that, then it always means that he is going to spit acid. And if he's doing that, then that's when you go around the that's when you circle around the outer side of the room like I did. And I mean the outer side of the wall, because sometimes what he'll do instead is he will do this weird rapid spin attack that will knock you halfway across the room if it connects. But it will completely miss if you're hugging the outside wall of the room. Once again, just dodge behind that hunter, and you are safe. There's the cylinder shaft. Combine it. And then type in the code, which is 4231. Then hit the corner of the control panel there, and you are good to go. Now we're going to encounter Lisa. Since we are deeper into the cavern, we'll try to proceed to trigger, the left camera angle there. And then once we hit the wall, we're just going to kind of slide along the right. But basically the idea is to force Lisa to spawn in one place. Because even though you can hear her walking around, she will actually teleport based on which camera angle you trigger first in that room. And it's a little annoying unless you know what's going on. So once you do that, then you can basically clear out any path you want in order to be able to pass through. For instance, when you're exiting this door here, if you go down the stairs at the bottom of the screen, then you can get Lisa to spawn over there instead, and then go back towards the broken flamethrower. But instead, the faster thing to do is actually to just run straight by her. Don't back up like I did, just run. That's all you have to do, is just run right by her. So then we need to push this box over to the garbage compactor and get the broken flamethrower. Try to line up the last vertical piece with the horizontal pieces. Or line it up so the right side of the box is past the last vertical piece, and then you can push it up. Then crush the box. Then grab the flamethrower and leave. So for this final encounter with Lisa down here, trigger the camera angle, then hit the lever. You now have 15 seconds to put the flamethrower in. And all you have to do is trigger her forward swing and squeeze past her. She may hit you, she may not. If she hits you, then just pop a first aid spray and move on. Otherwise, if safety is your main concern, then you could actually go just circle the room after pulling the lever, and she will have already been trying to go towards you and the lever, and just completely miss a chance to get you. So now we're going to do a thing exactly like we did at the beginning of the game with the Book of Curse. We're going to quick turn and then go into the menu to examine this last jewelry box here. One thing I forgot to mention was the other jewelry box. Before Black Tiger, I combined the red jewel with the jewelry box and solved that puzzle immediately. I'm actually going to do a tutorial on how to do a quick solve for that puzzle. It's a lot easier than it looks, trust me. Because even though all of the solutions, like where the puzzles come out is RNG, you will always select the same puzzles, or always select the same puzzle pieces in the same order as you put them in. Like the game will just move on to exactly the same next puzzle piece every time. And you will always rotate them the same number of times every time you put it in. It's a difficult thing to describe, but I will definitely put that in a tutorial. If you're not feeling very safe, then there's another first aid spray you could grab. But actually, no. At this stage in the run, you couldn't really grab that last first aid spray. Because you need to pick up the stone and metal object from the door there. And now we are going to use the key to get into Lord Spencer's study. We'll turn on the light, then grab the metal object. You could also grab the battery there. But actually you don't really need to, because you're about to get Barry's Magnum anyway. And every enemy that is going to be directly in your way with Barry's Magnum is about to get wasted. Barry's Magnum kills every enemy in one shot. And I mean literally every enemy. So just go ahead and use those. And if you used the item box in exactly every place that you were supposed to, then you should also have the red and blue books in your inventory as well. Select no. This is a little safety strat. Push the first one, the bottom left one first. The bottom right one next, the top right one next, and then the top left one last. It might actually be fastest to push the bottom right one first to lure Lisa one way so that you can grab the Magnum and push the bottom left one second. But there's Barry's 44 Magnum. You murdering psycho. But hey, we're trying to beat the game as quickly as possible, right? So now we'll examine the books and grab the medals. We start with the blue book with the silver medal, and then the red book with the eagle medal, the gold medal. So the laboratory is pretty straightforward, especially with Barry's 44 Magnum. The first zombie here can be dodged by using the corner lunge strat, like we did with the zombie in the second floor east stairway. And then his buddy afterwards is just a puker, so it's whatever. You have to shoot that zombie pretty much no matter what. And by pretty much no matter what, I do mean no matter what, because you have to clear a path when you have the nitro. So it is imperative that that zombie dies. The login is John. The first password is Ada, A-D-A. And then to unlock B2, you need to type in cell, C-E-L-L. Both B2F and B3F need to be unlocked. Most of the rooms that you actually have to visit are actually, truthfully, inconsequential, so we can avoid them. All we're trying to do is just go directly towards the tyrant and beat the tyrant. As long as we are going directly for the double doors, we can completely avoid that zombie. Then we can go to the media room. The password to this panel here is 8462. You don't need the first aid spray there. So now we're going to rapid fire our way back down the stairs. As long as that zombie is dead, we don't have to keep trying to get him to lunge at us. But we also can't take any damage in the nitro canister run. I would kind of sort of recommend that you kill that zombie, but you actually don't have to if you know what you're doing. If you can get him to vomit, then you don't need to kill him. But that chimera needs to die. And after we kill the chimera, we'll just use the first aid spray and equip the knife. Because our running and gunning is over. For now, anyway. You run as fast with the knife as you do without a weapon equipped at all. That's something I really should have mentioned at the very beginning of this commentary, but I didn't. Your running speed is affected by the weapons you have equipped. Having a knife or having nothing equipped at all is faster than having a gun equipped. So just unequip your gun when you aren't using it, as a cardinal rule. Believe me when I say you are not going to take any more damage for the rest of the run. So for the nitro canister, that was an accident. For the nitro canister, you need to run 3 steps, walk 3 steps. But keep in mind that the counter does not reset every time you go through a door, because if you continue running, like if you ran 3 steps and then you run another 3 steps as you open the door, then you will blow up. Not in the GameCube version. The GameCube version, the timer will reset. The step counter will reset. But if you ran 3 steps opening the door, then ran another 3 steps after the door, you will explode. So just alternate between 3 steps walking, 3 steps running, and keep that in mind, and you will be safe. Once you put that in, you can just go directly for the power switch of the elevator and directly for the final boss. You don't even need to worry about these chimeras either. You'll notice that I literally haven't said anything about the chimeras either, because they are actually less dangerous than they look. The only times that they are actually going to have a chance of hitting you is if their bodies are completely to the floor and they can just like hook at your legs a little bit. Or if they're on the ceiling. But if they're on the ground, then all they can do is do like this overhead swing that will generally completely miss if you just run straight by them. Because said overhead swing is really just a it's just too slow. That's really all there is to it. So the final enemy that you have to kill in the Jill run is the Tyrant, and you can do that with the 44 Magnum. Boom. Dead. Done. But just make sure you grab the key from Wesker's corpse. It is absolutely necessary that you do that. And once you hit that switch, you can exit the room. The zombies in the lab in the circular area will be replaced by chimeras. But once again, chimeras not dangerous at all. Just run from point A to point B and it's like they aren't even there at all. Or you can just run the nitro run path and just avoid them completely. We've already killed the final boss, and now we just need to go to the heliport and use the signal rockets. And that's the final enemies you have to dodge. That's literally the entire run. Excuse me, that's the entire run. So, if you have followed everything done in the run to a T, which is actually a lot easier than it looks, then you can just pick up defense items and steamroll your way through everything. And it is actually not very difficult to finish the PC version in under an hour 40 with these strats. If you're just brute forcing through everything with defense items, then you will be perfectly fine. But I'll probably make a more in-depth tutorial a little later. For now, though, this is pretty much it. So,
Jill, you did a fine job.
1 hour, 23 minutes, and 10 seconds. So that's it then. If you're looking to get the rocket launcher, this is probably the easiest way to do it. But if you're totally new to the game, like I said, go check out the rest of my channel. I have a bunch of no damage videos that you will probably enjoy watching. Because said no damage videos, you don't have to do any of these crazy dodges. Because steamrolling enemies is a lot easier than dodging them if you're trying to clear the game without taking damage. Or if you're having a lot of trouble in certain areas. So anyways, that's it then. I hope you enjoyed watching the run as much as I enjoyed making the commentary. Making, quote unquote. But anyways, if you like what you see, please like, subscribe, and also be sure to check me out on Twitch at twitch.tv/carcinogenSDA. Bye.